Well, they did it. Back-to-back World Series with maybe the greatest postseason game ever played. What's up, everybody? I'm Jim Rodriguez, and welcome to the National League champion version of Dodgers' latest. That's right, Dodgers set to open up the World Series on Friday. They'll either be in Toronto or at Dodger Stadium hosting the Mariners. And man, what a ride it's been. And we thank you for being part of it. You can always hit me up right there, Instagram and on X at JRodShow. And of course, we've been loving all the comments. We've been reading them here on Dodgers Latest. Continue to like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, hit the thumbs up button as we are rampaging toward the last series of the year, and the Dodgers hoping to crown themselves back-to-back World Series champions for the first time in franchise history and for the first time in a quarter century of Major League Baseball. So yeah, well, let's get started. That's what the graphic says. GOAT status for Shohei Ohtani. I mean, and the question is it the greatest postseason game performance of all time? You know, I would argue that he already has the greatest regular season performance. That 6 for 6, 3 homer, 10 RBI game in Miami, where he crossed over and established the first ever 50-50 club in baseball. Dodgers also clinched the postseason that day. What would argue with regular season performance? Well, Rick Wise, for some of you veterans out there, 1971, no-hit the Reds. He was a member of the Phillies. He no-hit the Reds, and Rick Wise also hit 2 home runs in the game. Debatable, two bad teams playing in June as opposed to Ohtani doing something that had never been done in the history of the game. In terms of getting to the 50-50 mark, got the Dodgers to the postseason. They clinched that day, and of course, 6 for 6, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. I'll take Shohei's performance as the greatest regular season, but is this Game 4 performance, 3 home runs as a batter, 6 scoreless innings, and 10 strikeouts as a pitcher, and what turns out to be the clincher and wins the Dodgers the pennant to sweep the Brewers in 4 games? You know, Jason Stark, who writes for The Athletic, a good friend of mine from the ESPN days, he as usual nailed it. And I think he's right, because there have been some great postseason performances, right? I mean, Bob Gibson. Well, let's start with the hitters. 3 home runs in a postseason game. Not as rare as one would think. In fact, the Dodgers now have 3 batters that have hit 3 homers in a postseason game. Kike Hernandez, Chris Taylor, and now Shohei Ohtani. So they're the only team to have 3. But the fact that there's 3 right there, obviously we know Albert Pujols hit 3 homers in a World Series game. Pablo Sandoval hit 3 homers in a World Series game. Babe Ruth hit 1. What may have been the greatest postseason performance ever might have been Reggie Jackson, right? 77 World Series, 3 homers, hit the home runs on the first pitch each time, 3 different pitchers, and that was a clincher for the Yankees to win the World Series that night. Some people will tell you that may have been the greatest postseason performance until, I think, last Friday night. I mean, because for all the home runs, you know, the 3 homers Reggie hit, the 3 homers that Pujols hit, all the other guys that have hit 3 homers in a playoff game, they also didn't pitch 6 scoreless innings and strike out 10. And then on the other side of the equation, the great pitching performances, obviously Don Larson jumps out, right? Perfect game. Maybe, and some people will tell you that is the greatest postseason performance ever. But Don Larson didn't bat and hit 3 home runs. Okay? He didn't hit, I don't even think he had a hit in the game. You know? Bob Gibson had 17 strikeouts in Game 1 of the 68 World Series. Again, he didn't hit 3 home runs in that game. So I think putting them together, and there is context involved on all this, I think Shohei's performance, 3 for 3, 3 homers, 6 scoreless innings, 10 strikeouts, 2 hits allowed. I mean, he had more home runs, he hit more home runs than hits allowed as a pitcher. He hit 3 homers and allowed 2 hits, 6 scoreless, and of course the magical 10 strikeout performance. Again, you know, there was an article that came out that the Dodgers' $700 million contract that they gave Shohei, and we know a bunch of it has been deferred, that the Dodgers have already made that $700 million already back in advertising, merch, ticket sales, revenues, rights. They've already made the money back, and they still got 8 more years of Shohei to go. Guy's a unicorn. Guy's a freak. And literally won the National League Championship Series MVP on one game. Because we were debating if the Dodgers had it ended up sweeping it, and let's say Shohei didn't do what he did, who would have been the MVP? Would it have been Snell and Yamamoto, like a co-MVP situation? But again, Ohtani with the 3 homers, the 6 scoreless, 2 hits allowed, and 10 strikeouts. The greatest postseason performance of all time. And I'd love to hear what you've got to say. Hit us up here on the comments. I mean, just an absolute amazing performance. And I guess, and in typical Shohei fashion, there was the video as he arrived at the game pushing a baby stroller with his newborn in it, his dog underneath it, and his wife by his side, and Shohei pushing the baby stroller. Just a regular guy who's a freaking unicorn on the field. So the Dodgers are in there and heading to the World Series for back-to-back times. They're the first team since the Astros 21-22 to get back to the World Series. First National League team since the Dodgers of 17-18. And they're the first defending champion to go back to the World Series the following year since the 08-09 Phillies. But of course, the ultimate prize is to win back-to-back World Series, is something the Yankees last did when they won 3 straight from 98 through 2000. Well, today's a big anniversary day. It is Kike Hernandez's 3-home run game against the Cubs to win the pennant in 2017. It was the first time the Dodgers had gotten to the World Series, since 1988. So from 88 to 2017, and Kike helped that game. I laugh because one of the home runs he hit in that 2017 clincher was against Jose Quintana, who was pitching for the Cubs, who pitched Game 4 against Ohtani for the Brewers. But for Kike Hernandez, lots of kudos here. And we bring him up because he has played 86 postseason games wearing a Dodger uniform. The next game that he plays, and we're assuming he'll play at least 2 World Series this game, the next game that he plays will tie Justin Turner for most postseason games as a Dodger, and then if he plays 2 games in the World Series, Kike Hernandez will be the all-time leader in games played by a Dodger, Brooklyn and LA. And it's amazing how much of a postseason just star he is, right? He also had a postseason with the Red Sox. It wasn't just with the Dodgers. Overall, with the Red Sox and Dodgers, Kike has played 96 postseason games. It's amazing, right? He's hitting .282, 15 homers, 39 runs batted in. Got an OPS of .864. That's like Reggie Jackson stuff. Played 11 postseason games with the Red Sox. Had that 3-homer game in the 17 NLCS Game 6 for the Dodgers. Actually, I think it was Game 5, by the way. He actually hit 5 home runs in a postseason for the 21 Red Sox. And he's hitting .306 this year with 4 runs batted in and 7 runs scored. Dude is an absolute clutch gene that he has in his DNA when it comes to the postseason. And he got a little emotional when they told him, hey, you're going to, you may pass Justin Turner for most postseason games ever in Dodger history. Obviously Justin Turner, is probably one of the most revered, one of the most liked Dodgers. And the Dodgers have a bit of a thing where, in terms of retired numbers, they broke the mold with Fernando. They broke protocol in that you'd had to have been a Hall of Famer, and you had to go in as a Dodger. That's how they retired your numbers. If you look at all the cylinders out there, all the circles, they're all Dodgers who were retired and went into the Hall of Fame as Dodgers. The exception was Jim Gilliam, who'd had a premature death, number 19, and then Fernando at 34. Justin Turner could be up there. I know, with all due respect to Ron Cey, but Justin Turner meant so much for the Dodgers, had such a big playoff run for the Dodgers. And now Kike Hernandez, who kind of was a mentor, Justin was a mentor to Kike. To see what he has done in the postseason, it's an amazing thing. And here's a guy that's always been kind of a utility player, bounced around a little bit. And when it comes to the bright lights of October, Kike Hernandez is one of the all-time greats, and now can be one of the all-time Dodgers ever. in terms of postseason games played. All right. Also, is it going to be Seattle or Toronto? Well, they play Game 7 tonight at Rogers Center in Toronto. The Mariners and the Blue Jays. Mariners have never been to the World Series. They were born in 1977. Same as the Blue Jays. Mariners have never been to the World Series. Blue Jays have been there twice and won it twice. They were back-to-back champions in 92 and 93, right? Remember Joe Carter hitting the home run off Mitch Williams to walk off the World Series in Toronto against the Phillies. So it's the Blue Jays and the Mariners. And there are the numbers, right? Of course, after what we saw with the Dodgers and Brewers, regular season don't mean a damn thing. Dodgers swept the Mariners. They beat them the last 3 games of the regular season in Seattle. And that was clutch because it made the Dodgers have a better record than the Mariners. And so if it's the Dodgers and Mariners in the World Series, the Dodgers would have home field. So Friday night, Game 1 would be at Dodger Stadium against Seattle. They were 2-1 against Toronto. They took 2 out of 3 from them at Dodger Stadium in early August 8th through the 10th. But the Blue Jays, have a better record straight up. Again, they have a better record than the Dodgers. So Toronto would host the World Series. Game 1 would be Friday night in Toronto if they win that game. And it's funny how Clayton Kershaw really figures in both of these series. Because you remember, Clayton pitched his last regular season game against the Mariners. It was the last game of the season, and he beat the Mariners for his last regular season win. So that will always go down as, where was Clayton Kershaw's last start? Where was his last win in the regular season? Well, it was in Seattle. And Clayton Kershaw is touched with Max Scherzer because, remember, Kershaw faced Scherzer in the opening series at Dodger Stadium between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. That game, obviously, 3,000 strikeout pitchers facing each other. And, of course, they faced each other when they were unknown rookies. It was a game, it was supposed to be Randy Johnson against Greg Maddux, and it turned out to be Scherzer and Kershaw that day. And, of course, that's the famous meme going around. Ohtani hit his 40th home run of the season in that series against Toronto, and the bullpen blew a game that could have swept the Blue Jays. So that Blue Jay series kind of an encompass of what the Dodgers season was. But either way, if it's the Mariners, the Dodgers would host Game 1. If it's the Blue Jays, the Dodgers would go to Toronto, start Game 1. Dodgers were going to do a workout tonight and try to get ready because it's going to be a week in between games for the Dodgers. Remember, they clinched the National League pennant last Friday. Game 1 will be this coming Friday. And it's an interesting thing. It's sort of like that whole, do you want to win the division and have that kind of week off, start the LDS, skip the wild card round, and go and not have to play till Friday or Saturday? Does that hurt you? The Dodgers, have with their early eliminations, we're kind of trying to figure that out. This year, obviously, they were in the wild card series. But to give you an idea of having that much of a rest between the League Championship Series and the World Series, here's a crazy number. The 2007 Rockies swept the Diamondbacks and had to wait 9 days between the end of the League Championship Series and the World Series. 9 days. And the Rockies ended up getting swept by the Red Sox. The 2012 Tigers had to wait 6 days between the League Championship Series and the World Series. And the Tigers were swept by the Giants in the World Series. So the Dodgers now will have been 7 days between the end of the League Championship Series and the World Series. And then we will see how they do against Seattle or Toronto. Although, I'll tell you what, these Dodgers seem to be inevitable the way they're playing. We don't know an idea to who's going to start. Is it going to be Blake Snell? Is it going to be Yamamoto? We do know the World Series begins Friday night, and the Dodgers are going to be there. Remember, hit me up right there, X and Instagram, J-Rod Show. Love to hear what you got to say. Of course, all the comments on our YouTube page. Glad you're a part of it. We're going to be previewing the World Series. We'll have an opponent to talk about tomorrow. Always good stuff. And Friday night, we kick it off, Game 1 of the 2025 World Series. I'm Jim Rodriguez, and remember, it's always time for Dodger baseball.